Recently, the Winnipeg Police Service was notified by justice officials that they had reached a resolution agreement respecting charges laid against Mr. Shawn Lamb. From a Winnipeg police perspective, this was a difficult and challenging case that resulted in all discovered evidence being forwarded to Manitoba Justice. Now, the Winnipeg Police Service acknowledges the efforts that justice officials have made to evaluate the evidence, prepare a prosecution, and ultimately reach a defined result, in this case, convictions of manslaughter. The service further acknowledges the difficult decision to forego a criminal trial. We accept this fact and respect the authority by which this decision was made, recognizing the decision balances the interests of justice with public safety concerns. Mr. Lamb came into police custody during a sexual assault investigation that was unrelated to the homicides of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith. While being processed for the sexual assault, Mr. Lamb indicated he knew where a body was. This statement triggered a homicide investigation. The body of Carolyn Sinclair was discovered. However, Mr. Lamb was not cooperative with police and did not provide a formal statement to police at that time. After being remanded into custody at the Provincial Remand Centre, investigators were contacted by Mr. Lamb. He indicated that he had more information to relate about the homicide and the other crimes that he had committed. He was willing to cooperate, but requested police assist him with canteen privileges at the remand centre before he would agree to being interviewed. Investigators considered his request and consulted with prosecutors who gave specific advice on how to proceed with an interview in those circumstances. This was done before agreeing to establish a $600 canteen fund for Mr. Lamb at the Provincial Remand Centre. During an interview with homicide investigators, Mr. Lamb voluntarily outlined his involvement in the homicides of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith. A formal statement was obtained and charges were authorized by provincial prosecutors. Now, after the initial statement was secured, Mr. Lamb continued to contact investigators, indicating he would provide more information about other homicides that he was involved in. Again, he requested canteen funds before agreeing to be interviewed. 2 subsequent interviews were conducted with Mr. Lamb. Neither of the interviews provided investigators with any additional evidence. An additional $900 was deposited into his canteen fund at the Provincial Remand Centre. To sum up, after consulting with prosecutors, a decision was made to provide Mr. Lamb with canteen funds so that he would agree to be interviewed. The interview resulted in information that led to formal charges against Mr. Lamb that were authorized by prosecutors. This brought closure to the families of Carolyn Sinclair and Lorna Blacksmith. It was hoped subsequent information would be forthcoming to bring closure to the families of other victims that Mr. Lamb may have been involved in. The Winnipeg Police Service is sensitive to the fact that there are many missing and murdered women in Manitoba and Canada. These investigations are a priority for us. In this case, the investigators explored all available options in the interests of justice and public safety.